Hey everybody, I'm Andy and this is Eddie, and these are some Genesis games you may have missed, starting with Risky Woods. Risky Woods was originally released for the Amiga system and then ported over to the Genesis in 1992. In this side-scrolling hack-and-slash platformer, you play as Rohan. You are tasked with saving the ancient monks, the keepers of the wisdom of the Lost Lands,
who are stoned,
who have been turned to stone by the evil wizard Draxos.
The first time I played Risky Woods, it was crazy and a lot of things were happening at once and it was confusing. I really didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I'd pick up items and then I would fall asleep. Well, it turns out it was just taking time away, but it looks like I was falling asleep.
The action can get hectic at times. Now, you'll have enemies coming at you from every direction while you're trying to traverse pits and spikes. And due to the occasionally poor hit detection, you will miss your fair share of jumps.
You do have a small arsenal of weapons to collect along the way, and they can all be powered up. Your armor can also be powered up by collecting metal links, and you can lose them when you get hit a la Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's even a small memory game, kind of like Simon, that's a puzzle game used to open the gates. Now, I thought this was a cool little feature added specifically to the Genesis version, but it comes at a cost. It eats up your already short time to solve these puzzles, and you can't pause the game. The graphics are colorful in this game, and there's a decent amount of parallax used for added depth.
This game is not for the weak of heart and can be brutally difficult at times, but it is a lot of fun. Make it to the level 6 boss, and you can find out where all the stone monks are getting their weed.
Wolfchild was designed by Simon Phipps of the Switchblade series for the Amiga in 1992 and then ported over to multiple systems, including the Genesis.
In Wolfchild, you play as David Coverdale, lead singer of the 80s band Whitesnake. Oh, that's not right. You play as Saul, the son of a biogenetic engineer who was kidnapped by the evil Chimera Corporation.
That's cool too. Despite my kick-ass windblown mane, my skin-tight jeggings, and my Marty McFly vest that just won't quit, I felt pretty weak as a human. My arms are way too short. It's like a T-Rex in a slap fight. But if you collect enough power-ups, you transform into Wolfchild. Now you're super hairy and you shoot energy from your fists.
I was a little disappointed that you couldn't do more as a wolf, like being stronger and faster. You can power up your energy attacks in wolf form, but I would have preferred they delved a little deeper into the lycanthrope mythos, like biting people or being really good at basketball.
Along with the badass cover art is a fantastic soundtrack composed by Martin Iveson and then arranged for Genesis by Matt Furness. Now, Matt Furness has also worked on other game soundtracks such as Alien 3, Boogerman, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Smash TV.
Up next, we have Fire Shark,
with the worst looking label I've ever seen on a Genesis card.
Developed by classic vehicle shoot-'em-up mainstay Toa Plan, this game was released for the Genesis in 1990. Fire Shark is the sequel to the Japanese arcade game Flying Shark, and I think it bests its predecessor in every way.
In Fire Shark, you control a badass bi-wing plane of destruction. It's piloted by a mashup of Brad Pitt and Tom Selleck. Like I said, badass. One of the things you'll notice about this game that sets it apart from the original is your starting weapon. Now, most of the time, shmups start you out with a single pea shooter, one shot, doesn't do much shooter thing. But
oh, little boop. That's how you boop.
But this game starts you out with a three-way spread, and it really just gets crazier from there.
Keep collecting power-ups and live long enough, and eventually you'll collect the flamethrower, which completely decimates all the enemies on the screen. Unfortunately on the Genesis, this is where the blast processing really putters out, and you start noticing some serious lag. If you do make it through the game, you play through a harder version, really putting your shmup skills to the test.
While playing this game, look for the little details at the end of each stage. I mean, everything just comes to life. It's so cool. Fire Shark is a solid shoot 'em up, and if you're a fan of the genre, you should definitely check it out. Rolling Thunder 3 was released by Namco in 1993 and was the first of the series to be exclusive to the Genesis console.
Rolling Thunder 3 is a side story that takes place during the events of Rolling Thunder 2. You are Agent J, sent to track down Dredd, the second in command of the Geldr terrorist organization. At the beginning of each level, you can select a special weapon to take into battle with you. Initially having a choice of 9 weapons, once you select a weapon, it will be used up and not be available for use later in the game. So choose wisely.
I really think they were trying to add replay value this way because there are no clues as to what special weapon you're supposed to use at any particular level until you've already played the level. Even so, you'll always have your trusty paper wad shooting pistol. Also, you can forego choosing a special weapon altogether, in which case your special weapon will be a knife for close encounters.
Now there is a code you can enter to play as Jay's radio contact Ellen, in which case the knife can be used to make sandwiches.
The stages are side-scrolling action with platforms and obstacles for a shoot-and-take-cover style of play. There's even a driving stage where you can bunny hop with a full-size motorcycle and a jet ski stage. Unlike the previous 2 entries, there are many cutscenes to move the story along, and they serve as a genuinely funny way to tie the various stages together. This game has some amazing music throughout. A piece that immediately comes to mind is the weapon select screen. Sega's sound chip is iconic, and this song is a classic example of the system's use of that Yamaha YM2612.
You got it.
Wings of War, released by DreamWorks in 1991. This fantastic side shooter takes place in the planet Ickis, which is filled with shirtless, buff dudes flying around with wings, just being manly.
You are War, manliest of the manly men with wings, battle master of Ickis. You have the power to shoot bolts of energy from your fist and control the forces of nature. The grotesque mutants of Ickis have risen up and must be destroyed with extreme prejudice.
The power-up system goes a little deeper than your standard shooter. The blue orbs increase the spread of your shot, and the red orbs increase your damage. There are also colored gems to collect that change your shot pattern. The red gems give you a forward-facing spread shot. The blue gems give you a tighter forward shot with a second shot that shoots behind you and upwards at an angle, and an orange gem gives you a straight forward and backward shot. In addition, you can also pick up magic scrolls. There are energy balls that absorb damage, lightning bolts, homing magic arrows, ground attack projectiles, aura shields, and thunderbolts that damage all the enemies on the screen. The scrolls can be used immediately or stored for greater effect.
Wings of War isn't too difficult as far as shmups go, but if you suck at them and need a little help, there is a credit cheat and a level select cheat included in the game.
The graphics are decent, if a little too dark, but the boss designs are exceptional.
Yeah, they're large and interesting and have a biological steampunk look to them that I really enjoyed.
Originally released for the Mega Drive entitled Gynaug, this was the predecessor to sexy beefcake fantasy shooter Cho Aniki. Just check out this boss in Wings of War to see that connection.
Man, that boss was hard.
Whoa. Did you beat it?
Well, it took longer than expected, but I just rolled up my sleeves and grasped the controller with both hands, and I was able to finish him off. They even commissioned well-known fantasy and erotica artist Boris Vallejo to paint the American cover art and Andy's first modeling gig.
Boris was also responsible for many other video game and famous movie poster art. He did Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe 2, Phantasy Star 4, Barbarella, Deathstalker, National Lampoon's Vacation and European Vacation, and The Empire Strikes Back. I was such a huge fan of Boris's work, I still have the trading cards from when I was a teenager.
Ween even wrote a song about him.
You know you're big time when Ween writes a song about you. Up next we have Granada, a top-down, multi-directional tank shooter that was created by Wolfchild. After some restructuring and some mergers, Wolfchild eventually found mainstream success with the Tales series of RPGs they created for Namco.
The premise is simple. Destroy all the key targets in an area to unlock a fight with the boss.
And that's where the simplicities end, because the levels are wide open and allow the players to choose how they want to destroy the targets and in what order they want to do it. And everything's chaotic. There's stuff coming from everywhere.
This ain't your daddy's combat.
You mean our combat? Oh god!
Mega Man The Wily Wars was released for the Mega Drive in 1994 and in the US exclusively for the Sega Channel. While being the first Mega Man game to appear on a console that is not Nintendo, it isn't a direct port, but a remake pseudo-sequel.
The Wily Wars is a compilation of the first 3 Mega Man games, with the premise being that Dr. Wily travels back in time to destroy Mega Man during his first 3 encounters with the Blue Bomber.
Now there are many differences between the original NES version and the Sega version, besides the 16-bit graphical overhaul you'd expect. The Wily War seems to play closer to the Japanese Rockman, and some of the bosses are definitely harder this time around.
A major difference though is the addition of the Wily Tower bonus game that becomes available after completing all 3 Mega Man games on the same save file. In Wily Tower, you get to select 8 weapons and 3 transport items from Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 to help you defeat nearly all of the enemies from the first 3 games, and 3 new bosses created specifically for the Wily Wars. Named the Genesis unit, these 3 bosses are modeled after characters from the classic 16th century Chinese novel, Journey to the West.
Unfortunately, the Sega Channel isn't around anymore, but if you have the Mega Drive cart laying around and you want to bypass the regional lockout, just pop it into a Game Genie and use this code.
In fact, the Game Genie can be used on almost every Mega Drive cartridge to be played on your Genesis. Now we're going to look at Chiki Boys. Originally, this arcade cabinet from Capcom was titled Mega Twins, but then when they released it for the Genesis, they changed it back to the far cooler Japanese moniker Chiki Boys. Chiki Boys is a hack-and-slash platformer with a plethora of locations, such as a jungle, a cave, a flying level in heaven, and an underwater level. You get to select one of the Lucha Libre-looking mask-wearing twins to play as at the beginning of the game, with the blue twin being physically stronger and the red twin having more magic spells.
Sadly, the multiplayer co-op mode did not make it into the Genesis version, but the visuals are still bright and colorful with only a little detail being lost from the arcade version.
There's an eclectic mix of ideologies in this game, from the Japanese art style with Roman mythology thrown in, to having a robust clown as the antagonist. It's just all around a fun game. Up next we have Dragon's Fury.
Dragon's Fury is the semi-censored port of the game Devil's Crush, originally released for the PC Engine in Japan.
After the Dungeons & Dragons debacle of the 1980s in North America, they thought that the demonic imagery and the occult themes throughout the game was just too much to handle for North American youth in the 90s. So, they took out the middle of the pentagrams, just kind of changed them around a little bit, and were like, good enough.
Even without the pentagrams, this game would make Ronnie James Dio proud. It's got secret rooms and skulls and dragons and monsters and boss fights and ladies that transform into freaking snake demons. It's awesome!
The table is 3 screens deep of grotesque fantasy pinball action with a soundtrack that is pure techno metal. It's a pretty amazing game on its own and the quintessential pinball video game on the Genesis console.
Hey Andy, all this Dragon's Fury really put some impure thoughts into my head.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh yeah!
Truth! Set you free!
Jesus!
Jesus, yeah. True.
True!
All men!
Thanks for watching Genesis games you might have missed.
If you like what you see, don't forget to comment, and if you want to see more, subscribe to our channel. Rolling. We can do this.
Yeah.
Three, two, one.
That's so funny. Why is that so funny?